sippin', I'm 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 sippin'.
Sippin', I'm sippin', I'm sippin', I'm sippin', I'm sippin', I'm sippin', I'm sippin'.
This is Sippin' with Sammie. I am Sippin' with Sammie, Sam Malone, Barstool, Rug. If you ain't sippin' with Sammie, you ain't sippin' right. Get your fucking life together. And Soph is somewhere, but she'll be here shortly. But our guests were on time, so we're gonna start with them. Please introduce yourself to my audience, ladies.
Well, first and foremost, thanks for having us. I'm Lou Bevins, co-founder of Eli Lu Entertainment.
And I'm Eli Bevins, also co-founder of Eli Lu Entertainment.
Dope. Thanks for joining us. It's my pleasure to have you guys, and it's crazy because, you know, this was decided fairly recently that we were going to have you guys on, and when I heard it, I'm like, people have been telling me about them. I've been following y'all and paying attention to your journey for a while, so I was excited to have you guys on. I really
appreciate that.
dig it. So let's just little short way of how the company started.
I was like,
I know, tag team.
Yeah. You know, the twin questions, we got to make sure we don't run over each other. No, but, you know, we started Eli Lu Entertainment actually about 10 maybe 12 years ago. I'm going to go with 2009, I believe.
Dope.
Then it was Eli Lu Productions, and we kind of made our transition to Eli Lu Entertainment. But, you know, we always were writers back in, you know, high school, and then when we got to college, we went off for STEM, got our, you know, our bachelor's in computer science, master's in information architecture, but we never left the arts. So, you know, just we did stage plays, short films, and we've been growing ever since. So that's sort of how we, you know, got started.
So did y'all both gain interest at the same time, or was one more into it than the other? Were there times where one was like, I'm done with it? You know what I mean? Like, how does that go? Because you guys are always together and have business together. That's like...
Right. It's funny. We just had this conversation with another set of twins, so it's just interesting. But no, we actually started at the same time because growing up, we just had the same, I guess, talents and passion. So it kind of just grew with us. And again, like she said, we went off in a different field, but our passion never left us. And when you got a God-given talent for it, it's like, why not, you know, just use it? So we did start a company with it. And then on top of that, we're spoken word artists. I guess spoken word hip hop artists is what we like to say. So now we kind of got a blend of film and spoken word, and we've been doing so much since this pandemic actually happened. You know, just kind of keep going.
And that's what I was about to ask y'all. How has the pandemic been treating y'all? What have y'all learned? What have y'all grown since the pandemic?
Oh my gosh, it's so crazy because we actually got more opportunities during the pandemic than at least I would have even thought when it first started.
In the beginning, it wasn't that way though.
Not in a very good
The same week we sold tickets to our, we were planning on having a screening with 700 attendees, which included after the screening a dinner. So we planned for 5 to 6 months. And the same week we sold tickets, it was the same week Philadelphia shut everything down. We had to return tickets.
Returning them the same week.
So I was like, oh my God, what we gonna do? You know, like you plan for something for almost a half a year and then for that to happen. So it was kind of rough in the beginning, but you know, as Lou was saying, as things started to go along, we started getting more opportunities.
Right. But we have to pivot, you know, like being in the entertainment industry is sort of like, you know, you're going to sink or you're going to swim. So when it happened, a lot of our projects sort of went online or went virtual. You know, right now we have a project called I Got the Mic that we filmed, and part of the production team was in Philly and the other half was in Los Angeles. We had partnered with Waco Theater Center and Richard Lawson Studios out in Los Angeles and created a virtual talent show, if you will, mainly starting with spoken word and poetry. And then we expanded to other wordsmiths from rap, hip hop, monologues, you know, anything just celebrating the verbal art form. And that was a global show. We had talent in Ghana and London and, you know, Brazil, anywhere you can think of. So that was like an awesome experience. And then, you know, just pushing our Sound Mind cinematic mixtape, which is 12 short films with 12 spoken word tracks. You know, we just released it, 2 weeks ago? A week ago, maybe? So, yeah, we're making it work. Thank you.
Absolutely. I mean, I've seen a lot of people do great things and things that nobody expected to have to do or to even be options when, you know, we started last year until we got to this year. And it's been inspiring. I like to salute my team because we've been able to accomplish a lot. We've been able to figure out how to adjust. We got on the Zoom thing pretty early so that we didn't have to slow down production on because I didn't know anything about Zoom. I'm not the tech guy.
Right.
So
That's
like
a lot of people, yeah.
So it's really inspirational, and I always want people that have found a way to explain to people how they found their way, because nobody had a good year last year in life terms, but like you might have done other things in business and things that was successful.
Yeah,
Right.
I was gonna say it forced you to be uncomfortable and to get comfortable with new things. It was like so many new opportunities and amazing blessings came our way, and if it wasn't for us being uncomfortable and being forced into doing things differently, and even like doing a virtual show with a crew literally in Los Angeles and a crew here, and it's like, how are we gonna do this virtually? You know, we got team members in Atlanta, we got a team member in Seattle, we got a team member in New York. But like you said, using Zoom for virtual meetings. We're buying the same equipment here and there, making sure our stuff is exactly the same. They're sending us stuff, and we're watching how their screen looks and directing from afar, or producing from afar.
Directing in different states, like looking at Zoom at another camera,
right, at an actual camera. It's been interesting, and then our teams are smaller, because of COVID, obviously.
Yeah.
So. And then you got to deal with everybody's wearing multiple hats. So, but no, it was a blessing just being able to work with, the Waco team in Los Angeles and our Eli Lu Entertainment team here. And then the networking, is growing also. So, yeah, it's a beautiful thing to find something beautiful in the middle of this storm we're living in,
Absolutely. And I like what you said about it made people have to figure out how to live uncomfortably. One thing we always say about at least this country is that we lazy, we're comfortable, we're setting our ways, and we're not trying to be innovative and progressive. And sometimes the art suffers, and we wind up seeing people producing on the treadmill. It's like you keep putting out the same thing over and over again by 8 different directors.
Right.
And, you know what I mean? So I was excited in the beginning of this. One of the things I said from the very beginning, when it was shut down and riots was happening at the same time, and I was saying I can't wait for 5, 10, 15 years from now to see the art that comes from this. To see the books, to see the paintings, to see the music, because this is another renaissance.
Right.
And as an artistic mind, I get excited about that because that comes from turmoil and strife and uncomfortability.
Right.
Like that's how we get the best stuff out.
Yeah, art tells history. And it's funny you say that because we had like I said, it was a global show and we were seeking talent from around the world, but all of the content, the problem, not that it was a problem, but what we had from the first episode was all the content was the same. And I was like, that's because, when it's reflective of the times we're living in, one, and it's reflective of when you do art. I know, like when I'm writing spoken word or a rap, I'm writing from the gut of what I feel in that moment. And so all of the writers, again, we had probably over 500 submissions or something from around the world. And it was so many of the pieces that were so similar because everybody was feeling
from different countries.
And even if you weren't from America, I was like, I never thought about how other countries are literally feeling what we're feeling right here in like Philly or New York. So it was crazy. But we had a conversation about that because the talent, not that they all thought the same. It was just that we're all living in this moment,
And that's why I said the 5, 10, 15 years where you'll be able to marinate with it. You'll be able to see outcomes from it and changes, and it'll be a whole nother look on it as opposed to the initial shock of it.
Yeah.
And just trying to capture that.
Right. Yeah. Right. It's like documenting history for.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we were able to do it on this platform in Philly when they started setting the state trooper cars on fire.
Yeah.
We were actually recording. And I got a FaceTime from somebody, so we put the when they were setting the Starbucks on fire, we had that in the corner of the screen, and I got to be Don Lemon for a little bit. It was cool. Who would have thought?
Last year was so wild that anybody was like caught in the middle of something at some point.
Yeah, Well, it's just like being in the grocery store and things just start happening. This one girl was like, I was shopping and. Next thing I know, people was like, running everywhere. So she just went in to grab something, and it became this whole chaotic situation. So yeah, for sure.
It's amazing. What schools did you guys attend?
Yes, so we were born and raised West Philly. We went to Overbrook High School. Shout out to Brooke.
What middle school?
Shoemaker.
Y'all went to Shoemaker. Cool.
Shoemaker was
that was Lean on Me, aka Lean on Me movie.
I mean, by the time y'all got there, it probably was.
No, it was.
It was wild.
We were on lockdown our years there, so we had the best time there.
Sophia.
Hi.
Hey.
How are you, ladies? Good to see you.
How you been?
Good. How have you been?
Good. Busy. Busy.
I see. I'm glad to see the project has been completed and is out.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Nice. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And I wouldn't expect anything other than that from you two. You are like two of the hardest working women that I really know, seriously and honestly, locally and abroad. Like, you really work so hard. So continue to do that. Absolutely.
That means a lot. So yeah, appreciate that.
Absolutely. I was, I know I'm coming a little late. I apologize for that, but I definitely had the honor and pleasure to witness some of your works before, and I hope our audience has the pleasure as well, and make sure they tune in too, because you have something in store. I love the way you bring the spoken word and the artistry. You just are very eclectic, and I appreciate that.
Oh, thank you. It means the world, just being able to touch and reach people, just with our art form, especially coming from a past where we just kind of kept stuff to ourselves, and being able to share it and have people appreciate it. And thanks for the support, and even like we're back with Broken Tables.
Absolutely. Yes.
So we was at Shoemaker, Overbrook,
Heston.
Heston.
Yeah. I was like, are we doing college?
I was trying to figure out the educational path.
It's all in the same. They all in the same triangle.
We was in a neighborhood.
We ain't go nowhere. We went from there.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
My family is West Philly. Both of my grandparents is West Philly, and she grew up in West Philly. So that's why when you said Shoemaker, it's like so many people that went to Shoemaker. My dad taught at Shoemaker.
Oh wow.
Yep. Absolutely.
We caught the end of Shoemaker when it was before.
I think it closed a year or two after we left there.
Yeah.
So it's something I kind of wanted to ask. I know I'm jumping in, and during the time, and a lot of times, but if I'm not mistaken, or tell me how important, are there any women that were important, like an important role in you? And I think I remember your story, but can you refresh us and enlighten us on that?
Yeah. Eli and I were actually raised by our grandmother, our grandparents. Our grandfather had actually passed away in 2004 while we were at Shoemaker, so it was crazy. But he had passed away of lung cancer. Coming from in a sense a two-parent household, though grandparents, and then my grandmother pretty much turning into a single mother, that did a lot to us, because we were not, I wouldn't say we were quiet, but we were introverted when we were younger, so we didn't, our outlet was always writing and poetry and short stories and things.
Luckily y'all had each other.
I was about to ask you about that too.
Yeah, that's definitely played a big role. I think our upbringing inspires a lot of, we had a lot of people who's like, y'all got like old spirits or something like that. And I'd be like, I was raised by my grandparents. I don't know what else to say. But yeah, my grandmother and grandfather have a lot to do with, how we, I guess, came out in terms of.
We've been joking about this lately because the Sound Mind Project, the 12 films we did, we got tired of people saying, I can't do this because I don't have the money, right? We all been there. We had these big ideas, but you don't have the money to match your dream. And I was like, we don't want to sit on this idea. Let's just go ahead and do it. But growing up, when we didn't have much, our grandfather was the only person that worked. My grandmother took care of the four of us. And so we were always making stuff out of paper. None of our outfits was bought from during Halloween. We never bought costumes. It was always made by hand. So, jumping forward to now, it's like I actually enjoy, having a challenge of, we don't have enough money, we're going to make that. So the project, we did 12 films. We had 150 cast. But we never had a moment where we were stressed about not being able to complete a film because we didn't have the materials. Even shooting at the Eastern State Penitentiary, they were like, you can't shoot with the bars on the prison, on the cell. All right, we're gonna make some bars. We're gonna make it work. So in the film, you can't even tell that that's paper. It's cardboard. So it's a lot of tricks we had to do, all 12 films. And we're gonna release some behind the scenes footage once people, get used to watching it. But it's funny when you actually get to learn what we had to do to create these films out of stuff from the dollar store. Same Old River, that's out now. Instead of metal buckets, we went right to the dollar store and spray paint them things. It looked like they were metal. And people were like, y'all dancing with the dancers were dancing with these heavy buckets. And I'm like, nah, they plastic. But no, so yeah, I think, growing up with our grandmother, she definitely inspired us a lot in terms of where we get that, I guess, that wisdom from in terms of our writing. But it definitely wasn't easy. I put it that way. So
yeah, you got to think we were born in '89. My grandma was born in '38. So like that time gap was like a whole different world.
In the '90s, our household was probably like 1960. We made it to the '60s.
Oh, trust me, my grandma too.
Yep.
So y'all had the couch with the
plastic. Absolutely, you ain't want to take no nap on that couch. You might as well lay on the floor.
Right.
But it's funny because you guys are like a safe haven for the arts, and like I think that art has to be protected because everybody before us was in a school system where art was part of growing up and going to school.
Yeah.
And by the time we got halfway through, everything was cut unless you went to specific schools.
Right. Which is messed up. It's still
I just said that
because I wanted to actually. My first dream was to be an animator. I wanted to go to school for art. But by the time I got to Brook, I didn't have a portfolio or anything to go off to school. So I'm like, all right, what's next?
Yeah, we just were talking about that because they took everything out of schools, and I remember we had the end of everything. Like by the time we got to Brook, we were trying to create the drum line, the choir, and then
we had it because the students created it, not because
it was
not because of the resources that were provided.
Right. That should have been provided.
Absolutely.
Right.
We left with us.
Wow. Yeah, so it was a couple of things. I know you get this question a lot. I know you probably get this question a lot about the twin factor, right? What are some advantages, and I don't want to say advantages and disadvantages, but what are some things that you look to? And maybe some things, because I have sons that are not exactly twins. I wanted twins so bad. I was even asking the doctor, I was arguing, like, are you sure it's not two in there? Because they run in my family, his family, we supposed to have twins, right? And so I didn't have twins, but they're 10 months apart, and I named them their bib. I was like, where's your bib? Your built-in best buddy, right? And so I think it's really, like he said, it was great that you guys had each other to bounce off. As you said, you were a little introverted. So what are some things that you can say were benefits, I guess, as having someone so close always
all
with
the time.
you?
Well, I think now and then I got two different answers, but kind of similar. Now it's kind of like I travel with a business partner, like in my back pocket. Like
that's how
we can make those decisions. And a lot of the work, like when we do these film competitions, or if I'm editing and she's filming, we get to I don't have to carry all the stress of doing all of the work. We have our degrees in computer science. We tag team the website. We need a banner. We can design banners. We need, we have everything we need. To bounce ideas off of. What do you think about this? That's dumb. Okay, let me do this. So that kind of comes in handy. And then on the growing up side, I would say the pain of growing up and the things that we had to go through. Again, if I wrote a poem, I usually only shared it with myself or maybe her. So we had that to bounce off of, and now it's kind of like coming full circle that we're finally putting out like a cinematic mixtape. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we had to think.
It's absolutely amazing.
This is amazing, yo.
That was the next thing I wanted to get to. How did you get so many? Is it 150? How did you get so many? Like, that is massive. Like, walk us through that part of it. Like, how did you even think to get that? Like, was that always a part of it? Like, to have this amount of people? Like, how did that even?
Listen,
artists?
Philly was hungry for it. Well, one, I would say the process that we went through to find out, we didn't want to settle for anything. Everything was very specific. We had Stacey Sherrill, who helped us out with all of the emails, because even though we casted 150, you still had to go through of over 2 years. It's a 2-year time period of us collecting email. So basically, we just tried to make it really easy. Again, executive produced by Derek Dean. Just wanted to say that also.
Absolutely.
But we put out, again, that graphic design background, flyers. We dropped it in. We searched all of Philadelphia Facebook groups that had film or actors in it. We sent the link out, and people would respond to it in a spreadsheet, and then we would collect it and go through all their headshots. We didn't do the whole come in person thing. For the most part, I think we did it once. So when we talking about that whole virtual thing, we were doing that before COVID. So I think it kind of prepared us.
Dope.
Because it was just too many people to meet in person. And whoever we picked, then we would have them come in person.
I gotta get on y'all email list, but go ahead.
The cool thing, right? So like, say if we were on film 2 and somebody didn't quite fit the role, but they were good, we had a database to say, oh, film 6, let's go back to this person. So a lot of the people we already had in the database and could just kind of
like 5 months in advance. It was like, hey, remember us from 5 months ago?
We ain't forget about you.
Right.
So yeah, we were doing, sometimes we were shooting maybe 2 to 3 films in 1 month. So we would film one film on like this Saturday and Sunday. Next Saturday we on film 2. Then we back to film 1. Then we on film 5. Like we really were. It was a tight schedule of us just kind of hashing out these films.
I like superheroes. This is like this.
She just validated my opening statement because I've been watching you for years now, and I've been seeing the hard work. I've been seeing the hard work. He actually did say that when I brought up the idea to interview you, he was like, "Yeah, I've been watching them for years too." You know, so we definitely see the hard work that you've been putting in. But to just now highlight how you were able to utilize your time so strategically and so effectively, I think that says a lot. I mean,
especially with the setback that you said you had in the beginning of COVID,
right?
And having to just wrap your mind around, you know what, greater later, we're gonna do something else now, type of thing.
Right. So yeah, you validated my whole stance for you. Absolutely, validated. Thank you. I was saying validity and validated. But yeah, you actually set that in stone. You said it right. So if anybody didn't know, they know now. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm excited to have them here.
What was the what are the times where you recognize progress or you recognize the level up? Like, where does that, because I know it has been, y'all been doing this since kids, so it has to always be different.
It's so funny because that's what we tell our team all the time. 2017 is when we thought of the project. 2018 is when we started on it. In terms of planning, we did a lot of planning and organization. And people be like, why you always got to be so organized? And why y'all got to... But I think it came back full circle because the blessing that we were able to do with the I Got the Mic show, working with actor Richard Lawson, Miss Tina Knowles Lawson, that opportunity came because we were prepared. You know, when COVID hit, it was like, hey, we decided to partner. We had to come up with a budget in less than 48 hours. You know, it moves. People always say they want to be a part of the entertainment industry or Hollywood until it actually comes, right? And then you have to kind of be prepared. And then that opportunity led to another opportunity where we did the Wearable Art virtually. It was called the Waco Celebration that we did in September. I don't know if you're familiar with the Wearable Art Gala in Los Angeles, but it's a star-studded event to raise funds for the Waco Theater Center. Yep. And then again, our small team was like, are we able to do this? Are we able to really stream it from Philly? And, it's a big opportunity for us. But if you're afraid to take it, you kind of miss those opportunities.
Absolutely.
You're bringing the team with you, so you just got to make sure everybody's on the same level. And so learning that you're enough when you go into these rooms with people who've been doing this for 50, 60 years.
Talk heavy.
They've been in Hollywood for all these years. And so it's just kind of, finally learning to value yourself and what you can bring to the table, regardless of who's on the other end of the table. And COVID taught that. And then we have another opportunity we can't talk about yet that we're, actually in the middle of right now. And I'm like, man, who would have thought that in the middle of COVID, something that was so depressing in the beginning, for some of us, we're getting more opportunities, but it's because of being virtual. People didn't think about filming across from LA to Philly. So we were saying earlier that we have a team in LA and a team here. I think in terms of leveling up, we always tell our team that, and then some of them are working on multiple projects with the team in LA. So it's like, not everybody's going to be ready, but it's either you are or you aren't.
I think the Sound Mind project actually is a big example of growth because where we started and where it ended is two different. I look back at pictures. When we first started, we were meeting at the library to, the Philadelphia Free Library to meet and to, cast and all these things. And then 2 years later, we're we have a studio, access to a studio and access to office room, a meeting space and conference room. So I was like, dang, just to think we were at a library, But
you had to start somewhere, right? And look at you, and look at the progress, the level up.
We both try to say the same thing. But all them companies started in the garage. You know what I mean? Y'all seen the memes. But it's funny when you say 48 hours to get a budget. it reminded me of something that I was shocked to hear from Spike Lee years ago when he was like, he been doing GoFundMe or crowdsourcing his whole career.
Right.
He like, with the exception of a couple movies, like the people pay for the movies, and I'm talking people that didn't have it wasn't about you invest, you get a percentage back. You invest because you believe, and the reward is that I finished this project and we get it out to the people.
Yeah. Right.
So like people don't realize that. They think that like I think one of y'all mentioned earlier, sometimes you feel like you gotta wait for certain things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where you could figure it out now, and if you need 10 grand and you wind up with 70, you spray paint buckets and you make cells out of cardboard.
Right.
Yeah, it's very similar to. So one of our latest interviews that we just did very recently was with a married couple, and they have a business called Got Laundry, and it's a laundry business, and we're very proud to hear that they started their business and they're doing well, but they started with $200, right? And it just talks about the struggle, like as he always points out, you can want to start here, but you got to start somewhere, and that goes back to your meetings at your libraries and the progression and the level up, right? So I just wanted to speak to that, and we're just proud of our guests and our audience, the information that you share, your struggle, your transparency. I think that a part of what I always aspire to do is being a walking resource, and through our platforms we attempt to do that. And so again, I like to highlight our audience and our guests for sharing the information and the wealth of knowledge that you do, because just sharing your story of just going at it since you were 7 or 8. I didn't hear the beginning here, but I know your story. You started when you were young, and just now it's talking about using dollar store items and spray paint and being resourceful, using what you got to get what you want, right? I think that's a story that a lot of people need to hear and can resonate with and can learn from. So I think that's why it's so important that we have these platforms and can share all of our stories. And
I think it's important y'all keep telling people that y'all spray paint buckets, because then they'll trust you with a budget.
Right. That's kind of what happened. It's so funny because we were like, we don't have much, and then I was like, what's the chances that it was like, all right, if we want to do this other project called I Got the Mic, we need a budget. And I'm like, I hated budgets. I was afraid of them because if you submit it, it's like, oh, they're gonna laugh at us if it's too low.
Absolutely.
Then they're gonna throw it in the trash if it's too high. So a year ago, I remember our team, we were nervous about sending our budget off to somewhere, and we never sent it off because we were too fearful to send it off. And then when COVID happened, it was like, you got less than like 48 hours to get this budget in. All right,
gotta put the cards on the table, baby.
So, just lesson learned. The first time we were too afraid, and so we never got that project off the way we wanted to. And then like the second time it came, it was like that Eminem song. It's like, you got one chance. We had two. So the second time we were like, let's run with it.
I think Ava DuVernay, I don't want to misquote her, but I'll just paraphrase. Someone had asked her about the difference in indie filmmaking versus once you get in and you get the big budgets, and she was like, well, indie filmmakers are more creative because you have to be. 9 times out of 10 you don't have what you need.
See some of these cell phone movies they make it.
So I mean,
very true.
But you know what, from those lens though, I think that prepares us to take on anything. Like we're screenwriters first. So I'm like, if I have a movie where I have a car crash, but of course I can't pull it off. I'm like, okay, what's the next best thing? How do I film this? How do I get around that hurdle of not having $20,000 to pull off a car crash? So
that feels like the rush to me though. That's the exciting part. Like, people get that, and I hate to compare it, but people get that from the streets, like that being right on the borderline and having that excitement and knowing that it could go wrong and I got to figure it out.
Right.
And in life, we need a little bit of that. We just don't need it that way. So that's what that sounds like to me.
Right. It's funny you say that because the other side of, we go off to college and all that stuff. But I was like, just growing up in Philly, you got that hustle mentality.
Say that.
Going to Overbrook, I remember, all right, I'm going to sell gum to make money. Like, it was always some type of hustle to survive, to get something extra. And so now when people do ask, I always be like, it's so funny because naturally we work on all these projects because we're either hustling or we're trying to save money. Like, I didn't want to do my own website. I didn't want to do my own branding. I didn't want to be an editor, a writer. Like, I didn't want to, a writer I did want to be, but I didn't want to be everything, all the hats that we had to wear. But it was like, because I couldn't afford to pay somebody to do my logo, my website, my branding, we end up learning it ourselves. And that's kind of how we got the opportunity with the LA team, just learning so many different tools. And I was like, Okay, God, I see what you're doing. Because at first I'm like, why am I on this path? Like, how did I get here? You know?
Right,
But it's
right.
it's a lot of truth in it. And just FYI, resource wise, we do have Font Productions that does a lot of the the things that we don't want to do so much at a certain point. So if y'all needs help from any of our resources, we know you got a team, but me team, you team.
Right.
Hi. This is Juice from Elevated Entertainment. Is this Font Production?
Hi, this is Kay with Font Production.
I am calling because I like to get some information on getting my business in order.
Okay, let's see what you have already. Do you have an LLC?
I do not.
Cool. Is your name already trademarked?
I think that is something I would like to get trademarked. I didn't even think about that.
Awesome.
I will be, and I do have a few artists that I work with, and I need to make sure that all of their business is taken care of and their music is covered legally.
Okay. Do you have those registered with a pro?
I do not.
What about your songs? Are they copyrighted?
One does, the others don't, but this is the reason why I'm calling, because it's time for me to get all of those things in order, and it seems like you do all of them.
I certainly do.
One-stop shop.
Absolutely. Let's get started.
I love it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's what we've all been about. You know, one of the things under the mission of Sound Mind was to work with other people in Philly. You know, like Philly had this negative, outlook of people going, Philadelphians or tri-state people don't work together. We got 150 something people in the tri-state area to come together on one project.
Dope.
And we had a Zoom where we had about 70 of them in one Zoom. And I was like, man, we could do, well, COVID shut down a lot of things. But I was like, man, when we get
You got 70 people to keep they Zoom on mute at one time?
I know, right? We had a schedule.
That's amazing. Y'all organized than y'all talking about. And you know what? That reminds me of something else. I want to shout out Boone and Filthy Rich because they just put out they movie The Bid, and they put 30 Philly talents at least in one film, and that was the intention. And they was walking in them rooms with a folder full of names these people didn't know, and they got it done. And I just want to salute people that do that for this city, because we need sunlight in this city with all this talent.
Absolutely, I agree. Jimmy the Saint did the same as well.
Jimmy the Saint.
He got an award for the Karma Effect, a few awards actually. It was in On the Scene magazine, and also he highlighted, I think it was, I'm pretty sure the crew was all Delaware Valley, tri-state area cast members. So again,
it's important.
Shout out to I think that's the wave, and I like that that's the wave. You know, I like that that's where it's going, and we support our own.
I actually designed the his film cover.
Did
So
you?
that-
Nice. See, exactly, and I love that too. I think it's all about community, and it's all about a village, right? It takes a village, and I know they came from the fable about children, but I think that's with a village. It takes a village to raise a village and to maintain a village, and I just learned to withstand it as well. So yeah. That's dope.
This is
dope.
awesome.
Yeah, I feel love.
Oh, likewise.
So when we decided to twist our hair,
Wait.
when was this and who went first?
It's temporary.
Temporary.
Yeah.
The summer's coming. Yeah.
You about to let it go? You can't release the journey.
No, I mean,
but
I'm not.
mix it up.
Yeah, we mix it up.
She doesn't do hair, so any hair that's
I'm
like
hair illiterate. I'm the
Hair illiterate.
Yeah, definitely. I'm probably like the only female walking around a kid. I cannot, of all the things I can do, hair is not one of them.
That's funny because it seems like y'all do a lot of the same stuff, but hair is not.
Yeah, fun fact, I cannot do hair. I'm impatient, I think. I'll be like, why isn't this thing curling? And then, yeah.
I'm sure y'all both cook because y'all grew up with grandma. I'm sure y'all both cook, right?
Oh, yeah. I'm a baker, though.
She's more of a baker.
Yeah, I like baking. My grandma baked everything.
Nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with it. And I know these are man questions, but I'm going to ask them. My name on the show.
Yeah, you are silly. This is what I have to deal with. I just FYI, this is what I have to deal with.
We have a great time.
We absolutely do. So as we're spreading the love and shouting out, I want to shout out Kathy Dance because that is who I met you through years ago, and it was definitely a pleasure. And she's such a hard worker as well. I love what she brings to the table. She has always been, my entire life has been like this beam of sunshine. She's just always so positive, and I just want to thank her because I met you both through her. So I just want to thank her for that. And she actually made this happen too. She reached out.
Who is she in relation?
So Kathy is my family member, and I don't want to misspeak, so I'll let you guys go.
Yeah, Kit Kat, as we affectionately
Yeah,
call
Kit Kat. Kit Kat.
Yeah, we met. It's funny actually. We met Kat through Jimmy the Saint. We were working on a project together and writing. And from there, we hopped on work together on Sound Mind. But Kat also wrote.
We wrote a script first together.
Yeah, we wrote a script together. Kat wrote Sincerely Dream on this project. She also was associate producer on, I think, 2 of the films. And just overall, we wouldn't be able to have done a lot of the stuff we did on the project without Kat. So you would definitely appreciate her. She's always pulling for us, pushing for us.
Absolutely.
So you need people like that on your team.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's funny because even like looking at you guys here, I always get excited when I look at other teams, right? Because it took us 10 years to get a team.
I was gonna ask y'all about that, but go ahead.
Maybe because we lived in North Carolina at the time, then we moved to Indiana. You know, we was doing the whole STEM graduate school and all that. So we never could get settled enough to find a team. And so moving back to Philly, we did all of our stage plays in North Carolina. All of our films were in Indiana. And so 2015, we came back to Philly and I'm like, man, we got to start over. Like, it was almost like we don't know nobody here in terms of film because we haven't been here. But long story short, it just took us so long to find a team, to trust people, to let people in. And I felt like when you asked, how do you know about leveling up? When we finally decided to say, if you keep your art for you and, you know, who's it for? You know, if you're making content for other people, you got to let it go. And so it was that push and pull thing where you're like the bride that don't want to let anybody in and you don't trust people. I've been on some shady film projects here in the city and it kind of weighs on you, right? You know, you've been in some very odd positions where you're the only person working or they use you just for your camera. You know, when you're like 21 and you're 19 and you're just young. And you're just
I know exactly what you're talking about.
So you get burnt a lot. You know, you're not getting paid on these projects when you're first starting. So it just took a while to get that team. And so I just wanted to thank, you know, Kat, Derek, Stace. I hate naming people because I start forgetting people. Kane, Lauren. You know, just our team that supported us for the past 2 years, doing 12 films. I mean, they never complained. I mean, we're doing 3 films in 1 month type of thing. You know, they gave up their weekends, their time, their hours, their months, their years to work on this project with us. And so I just wanted to say that. Yeah. I
want to thank them also for holding y'all down. Shout out to y'all for holding them down because this is so needed. You know, like you guys, and I'm sure you hear constantly how great of an example you guys are. And I'm sure in the back of your head is like, well, we just doing what we've been doing. But everything that we do, no matter if you're not in the public eye and you just have a block full of young people that look up to you, whether you know it or not, you are an example. Absolutely. So now you're thrust into a bigger level of that and you guys carry it very well.
Oh, appreciate that. That means a lot. Just because, you know, the bulk of our work is thought provoking and conscious. You know, so I can tell you, like, just from like Broken Tables, the response from that play alone, which is about broken families, had put like a fire in us because we didn't expect that type of, you know, I'm
just doing art, right? I was on the stage performing. You're not thinking about.
Yeah, but people crying and, you know, people reaching out saying they're going to go find their son. Like a father was like, I'm going to look for my son. And, you know, people are like, I'm going to have a family reunion. I was like, I never thought about our art touching people in that way where you can, you know, act on something after you've seen it. So that put a fire in us.
One of my theories is that when you release something, a project, a work of art, that it's like another birthday.
You say that all the time.
Because you're with it, so you know it's in you. It's all about you. It's all about you. It's all about you. And then that one day, everybody cares about it,
right?
And you get feedback, and you get more messages on the social media, whatever have you. It feels like your birthday.
Yeah.
So when people say they released the album, an EP, a new single, a movie, I always say happy birthday.
Yeah.
And then they think about it like, you know what? That's crazy because it kind of gives you that.
Right.
Y'all agree?
Yeah, for sure. That's dope. I might take that. My next.
Run with it.
When's our next birthday?
So what I was going to ask, I remember Broken Tables. It was definitely very heartfelt. I took I took my mother and my sisters and I think my niece as well. So we had like a whole family outing, and it definitely brought out a lot of. It was very thought provoking for a lot of different ways and reasons. It definitely stirred up. We had a family reunion the next summer after that. I kid you not. We had a family reunion the next summer after that, which, and for that side of the family, I think I might only saw one other family reunion in my entire life. And that was the summer after I saw Broken Tables with my family. But what I wanted to ask you is where do you get, because it's some real, like you talk about some real things. And so where do you get it? Like, where does this come from?
And is there a line?
He always pushed the envelope. Look at him.
A lot of it is either A, experience, or B, not other people's experiences. Like sometimes we say things that are just coming from another perspective. I'll just use Sound Mind, for example. We actually had a friend, one of our close friends' sister was actually murdered. And then we also went to school with someone who lost a relative in the Charleston 9 shooting. So like, you know, seeing things like that and oddly being able to know people who've gone through that. And, you know, one of our tracks is about like Habakkuk, about faith, you know, like how do you continue to believe in God? And then because people think like when you're a person of faith that you don't go through what everyone else goes through. Your world is not different, or you know.
You're supposed to question. I was taught you're supposed to question.
Well, and the thing is, Habakkuk, which is a track on Sound Mind, that's what he does. He questions God, like all this evil in the world, and like where are you? So we have that on the project, but the original piece came from looking out and being like, you're not exempt from pain and things. How you deal with it is what you're, given. So a lot of it comes from, hey, Sincerely Dream is about people getting, what is it about us getting past 18 or, becoming an adult that we just let our dreams go? Like, why 60 years old and you never chase your dream? Why? So we were like, okay, let's talk about that. So a lot of it is just what we see and what we feel.
You know what I was going to say? Because we get this question, but it's kind of like for me, if a shooting happens, I'm already writing a poem in my head. I always write my pieces in my head. I never write it on paper because it's too forced. Everybody process is different. I'm the weirdo that you see, walking down the street.
Talking to yourself.
Constantly talking to myself, or I'm just doing the line over in my head. So even for Broken Tables, I'm writing a line as I'm walking. The next day I add another line. That's the only way for me to memorize my content. So I'm usually writing based off of what I see if I'm walking down the street, if I'm feeling pain, or because people used to always say, y'all so goofy and happy. How y'all content so funny? Right. And it's because when you're a goofy or fun person, I don't want that in my life, right? I'd rather write it down and express it through art than to have it physically in front of me. And in terms of crossing the line, that's something I battle with, because even with Broken Tables or all the content we put out there is never specifically about our lives. And obviously by
like rappers.
Yeah. It's like telling the story for everybody else. But maybe one day it's like I kind of want to speak for myself at one point, so
I just want to say it's so heartfelt, though. It's so heartfelt. So I can imagine as an artist that a lot of it isn't necessarily all your personal experiences, but the way I think that you've mastered your artistry is for your audience to feel the passion of the messages that you convey. You know what I mean? So that's where that kind of came from, because I'm telling you, like, I can honestly say that I cried during Broken Tables, and some of the audience that was with me did too. Because it was real, family secrets, I remember like I'm getting eerie and chills because I remember like the sincerity of it. And so again, you are charged with a heck of a responsibility now, ladies, because you done brought it out. Like,
that's real. And just as an artist myself, I rap. I can make a club song every 15 minutes and it'll be dope. I could tell a story all the time. When it comes to telling my story, it's different. Right. You know what I mean? And part of it is something that a friend of mine told me, and his intentions was real, and I don't resent him saying it, but it's like a thing in my head now that he said, be careful what you make, because you might have to perform it for the next 25 years. And there's certain things that I know if I say, I would probably cry for 25 years of performances.
Wow.
And rest in peace to X. One thing that we got from him was everything. And I'm just not there yet. But to hear you guys say, like, no, we have a lot of experience, but most of this stuff is it's kind of the same thing. It's like I was in the middle of everything, but I had my thing, but those lines.
I think, like you said, you're not that you're not there yet, but you do have to live with that. And I feel like if I had to say what I had to say about my personal experiences, it's going to be crossing the line for somebody else.
Yeah.
But in the Broken Tables stage play, I remember we purposely wrote this line where it's like, why do I always have to protect? I can't say how I feel because I'm protecting you.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And it's weird when you get in that headspace is because
real.
you want to express how you feel in your art and your painting. Like I still got.
But then
posts
you human, so you want to respect somebody's feelings.
right? Even if they hurt you.
And guess
Right,
what? I
yeah.
took it so personal because I mean I don't necessarily have the art of I dance, but I don't like voice my art. But it resonated with me as just how I protect other people's feelings in life. That's in business and personal. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just how I. That's just the protector that I am. So it resonated really with me. Like that hit my heart. Like really.
Right.
It's interesting because Broken Tables, right? We all the poets, it was like 5 of us, we all wrote from our own. We Eli and I kind of gave out what the outline of the show was, but everybody was supposed to write their own piece. When we came back to the first day to hear what they wrote, I turned to Eli, I was like, yo, like Teresa and Haas, who were mother and father, I was like, yo, you sure we can let them say that because it sounds like our story. So it was like I was like, I know I'm gonna have family there. They gonna think we talking
Because your
about
name gonna be on it.
Yeah.
right. But
So
everybody had
People's
anxiety about
stories.
it. Everybody was having anxiety about what somebody else in the thing was saying but the crazy thing what we learned is that everybody was going through something similar or could relate so much so that it sounded like it was coming from us. Like one of my cousins' first question in the audience was like, "Is this play about us?" I was like, "Oh Lord!"
But that's why rehab has group meetings.
Wow.
Yeah,
It lessens the blow.
Yeah.
It
Right.
makes you realize that your story isn't way more traumatic than anybody else's story, and everybody has a story, and we in here together.
Right.
You know?
I learned that. Yeah. So that's why we create. Yeah, it gets heavy. That's why we do art, y'all.
Yo, I love that y'all are in control of so much of the art because like I said, I believe in the energy behind it, and I believe I can trust you with a budget.
Right.
That's all I need. I mean, what else are you worried about?
Right.
right.
They got the art and the business. They good.
We good.
Yeah.
We gonna get something back. If we don't get something back, we gonna make history, and it's gonna be all the
It's
same.
still good. Like we still good. We winning.
And that's the way to look at it. I think that's the way to go about it. Like if it goes somewhere, great. If it touched somebody, even better. So like we don't lose on it, if we don't make a dime from it.
I think for us, the funny part is always the first day of the concept. Because that's the part you gotta explain it to your team, and they be like, "They crazy. Like, why would we do? Okay,
Not so much."
Right? Why do you always gotta be here and extra? But when you got people in your corner that support you, even if they don't. I mean, because Broken Tables was a hard thing to sell. I tell you, it was difficult. It was like spoken word, a full play. Yeah, I don't like spoken word. I had people that was cool with me that was like, "Look, I love y'all, but I hate poetry." And I'm like, "Just come out, come see it. It's different. I promise you." But it was not easy to sell. But after, people were like, "Nah, I think that was dope." But
I want to hear a little more about the selling process. You skimmed over that. No, 'cause the people need to understand. Like, it's like I tell people. I know somebody that wants to write a book, and they said, "I gotta find time to write a book." I said, "No, you gotta find time to write bullet points. Then you gotta do an outline." But you not gonna. This ain't 1920. You're not gonna sit at a typewriter for 3 weeks. You gotta start doing something now to build towards that thing. You gotta have a skeleton at least, and then we put some fat on it.
Right. And it's funny that you said that. That is exactly how everything started when it was in a bullet point. If we write in a screenplay, you can ask Kat because we had a process of when we were writing we were writing a movie together, and we were so like everything was in a method form, like you just lines of stuff and then the story. But that helped us kind of go through the process with I guess with most of our none of our projects are
right.
that was right.
Take note.
For that, what Kat actually helped a lot was, pushing Broken Tables, but just being confident.
Word of mouth.
Yeah, word of mouth.
Yeah.
I just want to poke at this guy though. We learned that we went to elementary and middle school together, so I just want to poke at him.
Sadly,
we learned that from Mr. Glenn. Mr. Glenn used to make us outline and do bullet points. That's how we learned how.
But that was our science teacher.
That was our science teacher. That's how we learned science, y'all. Like.
But the thing was, like,
I just had to poke fun at him real quick with that.
What was his name?
Mr. Glenn.
Mr. Glenn was the shit.
Mr. Glenn is all that. We love Mr.
He's
Glenn.
like, shut up.
You got one.
You got one. That meant you had a detention.
Right,
Yo, he
right.
was the worst.
We got one. Oh wow.
But he was funny, like, and to this day I bump into Mr. Glenn every once in a while, man. Shout out to Mr. Glenn.
Absolutely.
Shout out to Mr. Glenn.
But I've been, it's like, at this point in my life, I find that a lot of the things that I did in life in the past, a lot of the things that my parents forced me to do, a lot like when they made you go to that other camp, or when you know that kind of stuff, or I acted at a young age. So I've been around production for a long time. I had a poem published at a young age, things like that when I was in middle school with her. So it's like I seen the ins and outs of a lot of things, but one thing that I see is that nothing starts with a fully formed robot.
Right.
No, not at all.
Like none of this starts just that. Like you could write a poem straight through, and you could do it in your head. Right. But when it comes to something that you have to dictate to people, you have to get across to people that's bigger than a page long.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
message, right?
You gotta have the bullet points.
Yeah. Right. It's gonna change it during that process anyway. You know, can't get married. But
I think what you said is key is reaching. It's one thing to do art, and I think one thing artists were as a whole are getting or have to get better at is in fact the business side. Excuse me, or really getting your point across is something. So like if you have a crazy idea, it's great, but how do you relay it to your team? How do you get them to see the same vision? So that how do you to get them to execute? Right.
Absolutely. Do you guys have remedies for how you guys deal with writer's block? Do you get writer's block? Do you break each other out of writer's block? I don't know.
I don't typically get writer's block. Maybe, but if you get the outline, you might not get it because it's so, it helps you stay on point.
Go where you gotta go. Right.
So it depends. Poetry, I typically don't get writer's block. What I do is I put it down, and I come back to it. It could be like two weeks later, because I'm writing it from a real place. That's why it's harder when somebody says, "Can you write about this?" versus me just, coming up with something when I'm walking down the street. You might get writer's block there, but I don't really get it often, unless when we're writing pieces together, we just get a topic, we separate, we come back together. It's almost like a battle. We battle with each other internally, where it's like, oh man, Lou got that dope line. Let me go back and go back to the drawing board. It's like a battle. So that if I'm battling,
now I gotta go.
Right. So
I understand that world.
That's separate that bib there. See, you got your bib there. You be connected with your bib. Your built-in best buddy.
You went in on it. Okay.
Right. So
she giving y'all the kid's name.
Yeah, I did.
We need shirts. We need shirts.
Yeah, got
put
you.
it on a shirt too.
Got you.
We got you.
No problem.
But no, that's dope how you guys bounce off of each other and rely on each other. Do you, on the flip side, hold each other accountable? Are those moments where you have to hold each other accountable in certain ways?
Do y'all ever say, yo, that's corny as shit?
See how nice I am with it, and he like just gotta be like.
I mean, they gonna do news interviews. This ain't that.
It ain't gotta be. It's not a news interview, but it's about being nice. I learned it's not what you say, it's how you say it. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, it's truth there. We it's funny, because we have to be honest with our art, because if she think it's corny, then somebody else won't think that. But at least I have someone in my corner to be real enough to be like, nah. But there's some times where I'm like, nah, and then she's actually right, and she's like, remember when we first came up with this, and she was like, this is a dumb idea. It's this one track. I think Breaking Me Down. Well, I don't know. One of the tracks on Sam Mine. When I first came to her, she was not feeling it. She was like, yeah, I don't hear it. And I'm like, I said, just give it some time, just write to it. And then like, a month later, she was like, all right, I was wrong about this one. Sometimes you got to fight for it if you feel like you really do hear it. I mean, you're right, you're wrong. But yes, I mean, we don't agree on everything, obviously. We're going to have those things where it's like, nah. I mean, we had to cut tracks off the mixtape. So now it's like, all right, well, what do we use? What beat do we use? Do you like this? So yeah, it's a process.
I figured it out, yo. And this is with all due respect.
Oh God, here we go.
Y'all were birthed as flowetry. Like the original, because flowetry been through they waves. But like the whole essence of like what that vibe, like just being able to have somebody to bounce off of,
I get it.
Intertwine and y'all do it in productions, and you know what I mean? Like, that's crazy. I'm gonna figure out a better way to word that. We gonna make that one of your taglines.
We gonna work on it.
It's freestyling right now.
I like that though.
That's right. I get it.
Yeah, I often say that, God probably did give me a twin to go through a lot of the things that we went through together. Because sometimes I'm like, hey, if I would have to do this by myself.
I know, right?
It ain't no accidents, man. It's not no accidents. And then the proof is in the fact that you guys and everybody's gauge of success is different. But you guys are successful together for relying on each other.
Right.
Like, what's a better story to tell anybody else, even if this their best friend or their cousin? You know what I mean? Everybody's not going to have a twin, but to have somebody that's always been there, that when you go in these rooms,
right,
they going to back my play and they going to know my energy before the rest of the room know it.
Right.
So they're at a disadvantage that they don't even understand.
That's deep. Wait, when your book coming out?
I was working on my children's book through McBride's story. Shout out to my guy, Head McBride. But people have been telling me I need to write a book. Maybe
there's a lot of quotables.
Maybe I'll start making my bullet points.
Yeah, start there.
Mr. Glenn would be proud.
You got one.
I feel like that was with us. Yes. Y'all are the best.
We got a lot of quotables. I'm taking it in now. Well,
I mean, I'm old.
Listen, we the same age, and I'm not old, so let me tell you.
Well, I mean, in Philly years, by the time you're 16, you're 35. Like,
I'm still 22.
And that was funny about something that y'all said about the narrative earlier about like making 18 and things like that. Like, my mom was saying recently, like, she was telling somebody, like, you are looking at somebody talking about me that never thought they was going to make 21.
Mm-hmm.
I used to think 30 was like retirement. Like, I had like big car money when I was in my early 20s, and I had homies like, well, let's get this, let's get that. You get one, I get one. And I was like, I'll get it when I'm 30. Because I literally looked at 30 like, if I make 30, I can do what I want.
Wow.
And that's the sad reality of how a lot of the youngins in this, and like I said, I've had outlets that gave me different things and different things that I could fall on, that I stumbled into actually sometimes, and was able to use my knowledge or my talents for. But like, it's rough. It's scary, and it gets to the point where you just like, well, it is what it is. And that's the beginning of the end if you don't have sunshine, if you don't have no, Richard Pryor said everybody need a little sun on their face.
Yeah, it's sad. That is a reality for a lot of people. It's funny because my first reason for going to college out of state was because I was running from everything. Like,
I was told to go out of state. I was told, do not stay in Philly, leave. And then I had a college professor tell me, don't go back to Philly.
People will tell you that.
People always said that, and it was funny because it's like, why am I basing where I'm going to college off of me just wanting to get away? Like, I didn't even pick the college that I wanted to go to. I picked the college that was the farthest, just so I just needed to get away.
I tried that,
and then people assume because you go to college.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
People assume because you go.
No, I was gonna say people assume because you take the STEM route that you didn't have to deal with the realities of growing up in Philly. Like, it's this, you're book smart because you didn't have to deal with that. I'm like, no, you have no idea.
I gotta walk to the bus every day. I gotta walk, like, what do you mean I didn't deal with that? It's impossible in this city. This city ain't that big. We don't have 6 degrees of separation in Philly. We got 3.
I say 2.
And we went to school down south. And we went to, with a friend where she grew up, and she was like, oh, yeah, the hood is down there. And they was like, well, where's the hood at in Philly? I said, the whole city is that way. Like, you can't really run from it in Philly. You may not act the way that people expect you to act. A lot of people are saying, oh, they didn't think we were street smart. I'm like, I knew everything that was going on. I may not have said nothing, but I feel like it's impossible. Like, either way, something's going to affect you coming out of a city like, Philly. Just when we were growing up, a lot of our friends were raised by grandparents. So, like, I thought it was the norm. And I was like,
we barely had friends that weren't raised by their grandparents. I thought that was normal.
Right.
I was the only one of my friends. I have me and 2 of my other friends that were had good relationships with their fathers. Period.
Yeah.
Not raised by them, not like had good relationships with their fathers. I had about 3 of them. And my dad helped raise all my homies.
Wow. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And
'Cause my mom and dad still together today.
Well, that's awesome.
Oh, bless.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because, and I think we talk about like privileges and things like that in terms of like on one end, I was like, dang, you know, we were blessed to have. At one point, we did have a 2-parent household because we had grandma and grandpa. But on the flip side, I had friends who had their moms, so it was like your privilege is having, you know, your biological mom, where you know, so it's sort of like the way that you look at life. But
you need a house that has love in it.
Yeah.
Right. Because you can have both.
I mean, I used to complain all the time, and then I would meet somebody who only had a single parent. I'm like, you know what, I did have that, so let me be grateful for what I did have. But it took when you in that moment, you're not thinking that way when you're younger. You mad at the world,
and everything is the biggest thing in the world to you when you're young. Especially you haven't lived yet.
That's all right. That's all you have. That's all you know
to be mad at. Right.
Yeah.
So you know, just count your blessings.
Right. But you know, all of that plays into your experiences. You were just talking about having an outlet. Right now in Philadelphia, they changed the art and culture budget to 0, which means the grants and things that fund programs that will keep. We already don't have art in school, so young, you know, men and women growing up won't have an outlet. And they talk about we had a high like gun violence was high last year. So it's like,
bring it up.
Yeah, why do you think that is? People don't have an outlet, and you know they're stuck in the house. He's talking about youth. So when you were talking, I was like, that's crazy because you just expresses our thoughts is that you take it away, there's nowhere else for them to go. If you want gun violence to go down, then
what are they doing? And then y'all brag about having the most murals in the world, but who gonna fix them and paint them the next ones?
Right.
But you know, it's funny because I think I remember we were about 24. We had went to Overbrook High School to volunteer, and I remember walking in there because I don't look too much different from the kids that was in there. We look like we about the same age. But anyway, I mean, the security guard was like, "Why are you not in class?" I'm like, "Because I don't go here, and I'm 24." But anyway, long story short, there was a shooting that had happened, and I was like, the next day I was like, "Oh God, what do I say to these teenagers that aren't that far from me at the time?" I'm like, what do I say today? And again, they had their phones when the teacher was teaching. And I was like, they're not going to listen to me. But can I tell you why they listen to us? Because we started talking about film. We started talking about arts or rap. Because they was all crying about the student they just lost yesterday that they couldn't think. I said, well, we're not going to do this plan. We're going to do whatever y'all want to do. What art? And when I tell you they all stayed, they came back every single day. And again, they made a short film. And it had nothing to do with the school. They didn't give us money for it. It was just something we did out of the kindness of our hearts of just wanting to see these kids, you know, think of something else other than revenge or think of something else other than this is my reality. And I give it up to the teachers because that was the first time where I'm like, yo, they every day was like, oh, my mom did this yesterday. Oh, I was hit like you really have to almost be a parent to teach. And I was like, I got respect for teachers now because I was like,
absolutely.
Every day was something else. Oh, she don't have this for school. I'm like, well, let me give us $10 here. I was like, this is hard, you know, like, but it was the arts that got them through that moment. So,
but
that's crazy that
I thank teachers and coaches all the time because just like I said about what you deal with on your block, they deal with this in masses. They are shaping our future in a lot of ways. They are the air that our future are comfortable to go to when things aren't right for them. You know what I mean? And that's before how much they have to come out of their budget, how much time they lose, how now it's designed so you still got to work at home because you got a laptop. Like and you one of the lowest paid in the brackets of the city, a major city.
Yeah,
you know, it's ridiculous. But I always thank the teachers, and I want to once again thank y'all for doing that because it's just about recognizing and helping in the ways that you can. And somebody's going to remember it, and they're going to figure out their own way to do it. It's the Tupac, I want to affect the mind that changes the world theory.
Right. And somebody did that for us when we were at Brook.
So you pay it forward.
Right.
Yeah. We had that. I used to feel like a charity case, and I'm like, oh, I hate this. But looking back, I'm like, you know, they was just looking out. You know, when you young, it's like, dang, I want your sweater. No, I don't need your sneakers.
But y'all had good energy. People wanted y'all to be okay.
Right.
Whatever that meant to them, their interpretation of okay.
Yeah, it goes back to the village, you know. It takes a village. So yeah.
That's part of the reason I went to a black college. was because I was told about the village. My aunt told me, rest in peace to Hazel. I lost her during COVID. She said that one thing about a black college, they'll never give you what you want, but you'll always have what you need. And coming from a family where I'm not guaranteed to get money every month, I need to be somewhere where we can figure out what I'm gonna need. I needed a village.
We went to HBCU for undergrad, and I have to echo that. Like, there was a lot wrong, that happened while we were there.
Financial aid office, horrible. Every school.
Yeah, we was on our way home a few times.
You and me both.
But like you said, we had people that looked out. We couldn't afford the 125 housing deposit one time. We went to the office, like, we don't got it.
I don't have it.
And he's like, all right, don't tell nobody, we can cover y'all. I was like, that better have been somewhere else. They're like, all right, come back next year.
Now that's Auntie Jackie.
Right.
For 125.
Right.
That's
Right.
true. Yeah.
That's fact.
But I think that's important to say, especially we're at a time where even in sports, we're seeing the shift to HBCUs. We're seeing a lot of light being given. We're seeing the government giving. We're seeing billionaires giving, millionaires. I think that it's super, like, I've had friends that, they couldn't go. And I was able to go. And similar, like you said, when it was time to go to school, you went as far as possible at one point. My idea, since I was told to leave, was to go as far as possible. And then I started losing so many people that I wound up in Morgan State, because that was actually one of the closest, like one of the two closest schools that I had actually applied to. And I didn't want to go but so far because I didn't want to not be able to get home for family, home shit.
Right. I was about to say, you be away and still home at the same time.
Right. Because whatever home don't leave you. It don't leave you because you're away.
And the thing about, one thing I want the youth to understand about college is, once you're in college or an adult, you have real world issues. You don't have to be in class. Nobody gets locked up if you don't go to class. You just lose money.
Right.
But at the same time, you have to provide for yourself. You have to worry about family issues. You got to worry about younger siblings getting through where they got to get through and being able to be provided for and have their little sneakers for their first day and tuition.
And nobody talks about that, right?
You hit on something that had to go through our sophomore year. I was sending, like, you know how you get that refund check? Mm-hmm. Everybody was buying sneakers.
I never got one. I got one for like $90. But go ahead.
Well, I got a good one time, and I literally sent the whole thing home to help, like, a relative that moved in when we moved out. Like, he was like 15 at the time. Mm-hmm. But I was like, dang, it's like I'm his parent, just trying to, because I know what it felt like not to have those things,
But that's part of it.
My entire check. I said, oh, okay.
Yeah, nobody talks about that side of college. I read a article.
No, not at all.
It should be an interesting study, but I read an article talking about low income college students. And I was like, you know what? I never even thought about that being a thing, even though, like, we were on scholarship even in grad school, but we had $7,000 for the whole year, and it was like, you can't work. It's like, what?
Which is like, why? If I can handle it, let me do it.
Right. So, that's where we got artistic. So, we did graphic design and we did filmmaking. So it was like, that was my side job.
Yeah. Our side hustle in grad school to make extra money was, we told the computer science department, I'm like, well, let me film your events, your film events, your hackathons and whatever they had. That's what we was like, let's make money off of this. So as you can see, when it comes to creating art, it's like, it comes from experience. That's just like the root of it all,
I feel like we really encapsulated that in this conversation. And I feel like it's funny because we just been kicking it. Yeah. Y'all energy is so good that it's like, we don't have to pull teeth. Y'all are willing to share. There's a couple times that I'm going to tell you to go a little bit further just because like, I have an understanding of what y'all are talking about, but people have to have the understanding that they can do it too.
Yeah. Right.
And sometimes that takes a little bit of fuck that. One of my favorite lines, fuck that. We gonna do it.
Yeah.
We gonna spray paint buckets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep messing with y'all about that because that's cool.
No, we appreciate, the talk, the transparency, honestly. We've been we always leave, interviews and things. Like, oh, that was fun. Like, I really enjoy, this setup and this conversation. You guys, really tuned. And it means a lot more when you guys are familiar with what we do in our work. We've been in some spaces and they're like, tell us what you do. And they know nothing about us. And we're like, why are we here? So yeah, we definitely appreciate, the support that you guys have given us.
No, we tapped in with y'all. In the beginning, there was certain things. It was like, I can't even go into that because she's not here yet. But we had a nice little warm up and the South made it.
I'm in the building.
But go ahead, South.
No, I know it's kind of cliche, but I think that it also, for me, I'm really focused on empowering people.
Absolutely.
So it's a message that I would love for you to give young, writers. What could you tell them right now? Like anybody because I like to speak to the youth. I mean, like somebody that's in high school. Say you were walking in Overbrook tomorrow. Mm-hmm. What would you say to that class or somebody who wants to do what you're doing today? Just give them some words of encouragement or some tidbits. What would you tell them?
Well, first thing I would probably say is where you are now is not where you will always be.
Absolutely.
And I have to say that first because before you even think to be anywhere else or to be successful or to dream, you kind of have to get past whatever it is that was holding you down from the very beginning. So it's not like you just wake up and, let me just dream chase. Because I think that's another reason why people don't chase things. But when we were young, I didn't see a way out all the time. As positive and motivated as I am now is because I finally believed that there was a better tomorrow. I used to be like, I don't see it. I don't see it at all. Just by, the nature where we grew up at, the things we saw, the things that happened. I was like, I don't see a way out. And the arts was one, but I would definitely have to say that first. But to, keep trying, keep pushing, and then, not let your circumstance dictate where you end up.
That was my first answer. I lied to you not. She stole my answer. So I'm gonna have to go with something different. But what I was gonna say is get out of your own way. Because for me, I feel like a lot of times we're in our own way. It's not actually other people. Other people, they can say that's corny, that's a dumb idea. Again, same thing with broken tables. I had people that I'm cool with that say, yo, that's not a good idea. You know what I mean? Or that y'all want to do 12 short, how many? 12? Y'all want to do 12 short films? That's not a good idea. So, but it's basically of what you are willing to do for yourself. Get out of your own way. Get out of your own head. Stop telling yourself it's a dumb idea. Stop saying I can't do this. You know how many times I came up with a film concept or title and somebody else had it? That means it's never a dumb idea because somebody else already got it out there.
Exactly.
But back then it's like, dang, I thought it was a dumb idea. Now it's out there type of thing. So, just get out of your own way. And then, you're more than enough. Again, that's that perception of, I don't care if it's college or if we don't go to college, whether it's that job you want, that training, we always think that we're, not as good as the next person, or this person has billions of dollars and I only got $5.
Fine.
People equal that to success. They equal that to value,
worth.
Talent, gift, worth. And so again, it just took us a long time to realize I'm valuable. So I would just say get out of your own way, basically.
Well,
hold on. I just want to say, because I led it with asking what you would say to the youth, but I want to say that all those answers can apply to anybody. So I just wanted to add that on there before you. I know you want to say something else, but that's very important. And I think anybody can take all of those gems, that jewelry that you just dropped.
I like that.
Now
Come on, y'all. We need a quotable book coming.
Listen, man, that's what we gonna do. We gonna do it together. But the thing that I wanted to say, which is kind of a bridge between what you guys said that you would say, and something that I've been saying since the pandemic and the unrest has been going on, is that it's okay to not be okay.
Yes.
They say you gotta feel your feels. It's okay to not be okay. And especially in a time where nobody's really okay. There's about 5 people in this country that knows what's going to happen. The rest of us are frantic, whether we want to show it or not.
Right.
It's okay to not be okay.
It's crazy you said that because I woke up in the morning for whatever reason. I was like, dang, like, am I ever okay not to be okay? And I had to tell myself that this morning.
You're
That's crazy.
absolutely fine to not be okay. And I take you a step further. When you in them offices and them people walk up to you and they ask you how you feeling, you don't have to tell them fine.
Right.
You could tell them I ain't good. And if they ask you why, you could either look them in the eye and walk away, or you can explain it to them if you feel like teaching today.
Right.
But it's okay to not be okay. Fuck that.
Right.
They killing us out here.
Right.
They don't care about us. You are the biggest class of motherfuckers graduating and being successful and not getting your just due for it and fighting harder than anybody. Right. It's okay to not be okay. But what you gonna do on the other side is bust their ass and do your work.
Right. It matters where you stay when you're not okay. Like you can take a day off, take a week, take a month, take a year, but get back up.
But make sure that you do those things because you'll block yourself up.
Right.
You know, you'll have a flow going and you'll be so caught up in the flow when then life is happening and you don't balance out life. And now what are we doing?
Right.
In a corner somewhere, huddled up with a bottle. I don't know. You know, artistic nonsense. But like, it really gets crazy.
Yeah.
That's really
and I think our young men definitely need to hear that. Or just anybody who's in the strong position. You know, it's the strong ones that's checking on everybody. It's like, oh, you good? And making sure everybody else good. They go home and cry and
they don't have anybody checking on them. Exactly.
Well, as a man that lost a lot of people at a young age, one thing that I make sure of, and one thing I realized is when somebody dies, all the attention goes to old people and babies.
Mm-hmm.
The young man is left to pick everybody up, drop everybody off, get the ice, take out the trash, all of that. His homies can't come in. You know what I mean? It's all type of things, and nobody's really checking to see if he's okay because he's carrying it.
Yeah.
And that's a void that we miss as a community sometimes. We don't look at that. It's about a 20-year, 30-year window of males that don't get attention when somebody passes.
Right.
All they have is that time when a homie come through with the weed and the bottles.
I got a quick question.
And if there's anger in that car, that's a bad situation.
How young? You know what? I just have a quick question. How young do you think that age starts? Because you said it's a 20 or 30.
13.
Because I was gonna say 15. So you said 13.
The dangerous age is around 13. The
year you said nobody's
the
paying
year
attention.
when nobody's paying attention is probably around 14, 15.
That's what I was
Once you're
wondering.
in high school, in our community, you kind of viewed as an adult.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you're not even expected to finish school. You don't even have to.
And unfortunately, we take on a lot of
In a lot of
responsibilities that
communities.
adults do too in our community.
That right there.
You know?
Yep.
That's
I was gonna
right
say
there.
that was like
you grow up early.
Right. With our grandfather getting lung cancer when we were 14, our brother was 15. He was in high school. We was at SHU. When I say when he passed in front of us, there was nothing. There was no tears. Even for the females in the house, it was like none of us knew what to say to each other. To this day, we have never talked about it. And you know what I mean? It's just one of those things. And my brother said something earlier this week about how he had to deal with, cleaning our grandfather during that time. No one prepared. I didn't even know really, honestly, what cancer did at that time. You know what I mean? Now you got it on your phone. You can Google.
No, but back then it was different. You speaking big facts.
I lost my grandpa 3 years prior to that, April 3rd, 2001. So I definitely know what you're talking about. I absolutely.
I lost my grandfather in 2001 to cancer.
Yep.
And you still
he
have
was like Martin Luther King to me.
Yep.
Yeah, but you don't talk about it. You can't cry about it. My grandmother sent us to school the next day.
He had passed right in front of us, so it was like I couldn't get away from him.
I've never seen death like in front of me, not like that, and not be able to talk about it to this day. Like being 31 now, and we still haven't even discussed it like as a family thing. It's like a secret.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was that thing that happened.
Right.
Which is sad, but it for some people's mental is necessary, I guess.
Right. Well, it could be a generational thing.
That's what I was about to say. Yeah.
I was gonna say my grandmother's time period. Like I had to think about it because when you're younger, you're kind of angry. Like how come nobody did X? Looking at her time period, if you're born in 38, you know how much stuff went on in the 40s and 50s and 60s, and
absolutely
nobody ever cared.
She was right at the depression. And still within.
But that's an understanding that we have to have. Like it's so wild, but we came a long way. You see what we doing? What we dealing with right now?
Yeah.
This is greatness. Yeah. This is greatness. You got the upside of LeBron right now.
I think
at when LeBron was 16. You know what I mean? You can do whatever you want from here.
Absolutely.
Because of what they went through and what they had to understand.
Absolutely. Right. Shout out to our lineage and just our just our legacies, you know what I mean? Because
we're all blessed with great lineage.
We absolutely are, so shout out to them, because for them it would not be us,
Right. So just understanding that I think makes a big difference in how you view it. At the time when you that age, it's like okay, but yeah, I think we're growing and getting to that point. where we can finally say it's okay to have feelings. It's okay being your feelings. It's okay not to be okay. You know, we get to that point.
I give y'all permission if that means anything.
But you know what? I also think it's a cultural thing too. I think that it's something that we experience as a culture. You know, so I think it's something that we're learning either on an individual path or culturally. I think that some things are being more acknowledged today than they were any other time before that are lending to our mental health, our well-being, and our wellness.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's stuff I'm telling people in the bar that I used to only tell her nowadays. I'm pretty sure I'm being loose. Like, oh, it's cool. We all fucked up. Let's go. But no, one thing that I want to make sure that we clear on before we wrap this episode is we are your resource.
Absolutely.
We have multiple resources as far as media goes and different things, you know, in the business and the culture. That if you need, reach out. Even if it's a blast you send it, make sure we're in that blast so that we could tag or forward to whoever we need to make it make sense. Also, let's make a commitment to keep building.
Oh, for sure.
Because I really enjoy talking to y'all, and I really believe in what strides you are making. And like I said, if y'all are going to be one of the gatekeepers of the art as we know it from our perspective in this city, then I want to make sure that y'all have everything y'all need, and it makes sense.
No, I appreciate that, because I always tell Lou and I always say this. You know, when you're starting out, it's these moments that matter the most. It's not when you're here. It's when you're here and you're trying to, you know, when these are also the stuff you remember more. It's easier when you get here. It's, you know, when you're starting at the bottom. So just, you know, we're always grateful to the platforms that allow us to speak, to talk about our art, our work. And then that's something that I don't take lightly. So I just want to say thank you guys for, you know, allowing us to come on here and kick it, you know, virtually.
I know, right?
Just know that whatever love you get, you earn, including ours.
And it was a pleasure. You know, it's all love. It's definitely a pleasure. We look forward to spending as much time and speaking with you as often as possible. Because I know you got some other things coming to fruition.
Yeah, she told us about an announcement that she couldn't tell us about, but I'm not saying
the funny thing is, I remember, and I want to say, was it during the release of Broken Tables that I heard about this? Because I heard about this project before it was like when you were in talks and thinking about it and like about to start working on it. So I want to say it was during the time of Broken Tables. Am I right?
We were actually working on both at the same time.
Yeah, we were just starting.
I remember you telling me though. I remember talking to you about that. It might have been when I interviewed you before or just in conversation, but I remember it. So I'm looking forward to being on the inside of the next one.
Listen, we gonna hit y'all up for sure.
We coming to y'all first.
Absolutely. You see that? Exclusive.
I heard that. Y'all are appreciated. Absolutely. I had a great time. But we gonna wrap this thing up. I'm gonna let Saf do her thing.
So yo, I'm in and out the building. It's your girl Sunny Brick. Catch me on thescenemagazine.com. You will actually check these fly girls in the next edition of onthescenemagazine.com. You can check the latest edition out for them and everything from entertainment, education to entertainment, edutainment. Holla at your girl on thescenemagazine.com.
And ladies, let the people know how to follow everything you guys have going on, please.
Yes, so we're Eli Lu Twins on Instagram, Eli Lu Entertainment on Facebook and Twitter, EliLuInt.com. Sound Mind is currently out, running on YouTube. It's free, 12 films, 12 tracks, out now. Available. Sound Mind.
You good?
She got the same info.
I got the same info. We
I'm
twins.
just making sure. I don't like to assume that twins have the same brain, even if they do.
Yeah, I just let her handle all that. But yeah, Eli Lu Entertainment on everything, and just thank you and your listeners for checking us out.
Absolutely.
All right, before I sign out, one last question.
What's that?
Which one of y'all is the muscle?
You already can tell who the muscle. Wait a minute. I'm gonna go with this.
No, I don't assume.
I'm not gonna assume, but guess what? I think that Eli is the muscle behind, like behind, but I think Lou is the front liner. Am I right or wrong?
Because when y'all walk in these offices, somebody got to be the one to make the face.
It switches up depending on
the office.
Yeah. See, that's because y'all got that twin power. Y'all got them bibs. Y'all got them built-in best buddy. You see,
like Lou, not today. Tag her in.
Oh, that's dope. But this has been another episode of Sippin' with Sammie, man. Catch me and my Fly Girls every Friday on Glocawear Radio from 3 to 6 p.m. Fly Girls from 3 to 4, and then they try to take over my show from 4 to 6. Always a great time. We here for the independent artists. We drop these episodes of Sippin' with Sammie podcast every Thursday, 4 p.m. all major streaming platforms. Visuals available on YouTube. But I am Sippin' with Sammie, Sam Malone, Barstool, Rug. If you ain't sipping with Sammie, you ain't sipping right. Get your fucking life together. And I had a ball today.
Absolutely.
Check y'all out later, man. Fly shit only.
Yeah. I swear. Triple double, then I spin. Let you niggas eat, ain't blocking. Aim to remain in the top 10, and y'all won't stop them. What's good, what's poppin'? What's cat, what's nothing? Cause I ain't got time to waste, got way too many options. Can't get time from me if you throw off my process. No comp, no contest. Fly guy versus a hot mess. So you can try till you die, still a lame nigga in the casket. Shit flame to my last breath. Already told you no misses. I'm out here handling business. I'm out here slamming your misses. Have it back for you miss it. I jump back when you kiss it. That's your boo, you have missed it. I appreciate her assistance.
I get fried off pounds of haste. So far gone, I'm miles away. Money long is mine to waste. You want smoke, got time today. You want smoke, got time today. You want smoke, got time today. I get fried off pounds of haste. So far gone, I'm miles away. Money long is mine to waste. You want smoke, got time today. You want smoke, got time today. You want smoke, got time today.
Know when I'm floating, I'm smoking. When I'm smoking, I'm smoking. When I'm drinking, I'm smoking. Smoking out in the open. It's your man Sammie backwoods. Graduated to cognac. Touring, ain't going back. Book bag be the foreign pack. Educated and medicated. Work heavy, I'm dedicated. Took losses and never faded. So on the calm, I already made it. Hold on, I already made it. Oh shit, we already made it. We leveled up, it's a celebration. We leveled up, it's a celebration.
I get fried off pounds of haste. So far gone, I'm miles away. Money long is mine to waste. You want smoke, got time today. You want smoke, got time today. You want smoke, got time today. I get fried off pounds of haste. So far gone, I'm miles away. Money long is mine to waste. You want smoke, got time.